The OPORD tab in the mission planning area of the project is by far the one that has the most amount of information to go fill out. And that's because the OPORD is the trigger point. Once the OPORD is approved, that's when we can start dispatching people, we can send money, we can buy airline tickets. Basically, we delegate authority to the C&G to go and get shit done. So it's a good opportunity to remind you that multiple people, as long as they have the CE license, they can be in here updating these fields at the same time, as long as they're not both updating the same field. So for example, if the mission planning team wanted to, they could say, all right, one person takes these fields, another person takes these fields, and those two people can be in here simultaneously updating and saving without affecting the other person. That being said, you would not see what someone else has done until you refresh the page, and if two people do end up editing the same field, then whoever saves last would win. So in the OPORD tab, we have a number of OPORD related fields. Probably the main one is the concept of operations. So there's a lot of room here for a lot of text because that's kind of the A to Z, like the plan for the actual operation. Lots of addresses and people to plug in and that kind of thing. There are some differences here though, where we have a couple roll-up fields that we haven't really talked about yet. So anytime you see this calculator icon, that means that this is a roll-up field or a calculated field, and what it's doing is it's feeding from somewhere else to be able to display here. So in this case, it's looking at the operation execution event, and it's tallying the number of people that have registered for that particular event, and it's going to, by default, it's going to update this number at least once per day. But you can actually recalculate it whenever you want just by hitting the calculator icon and then clicking recalculate. So it just gives us an idea of, in this case, of how many people have signed up. You can see another one here where it's dipping into that event and it's looking at the total amount of funding requested and then bringing that total out here as well. So those are things you might want to recalculate every once in a while just so that it stays current. The rest of these are pretty straightforward. There's lots of information to go analyze and document. And this section here may look familiar because we've done something very similar in the Warno. However, the main difference is in the Warno, we're just estimating how many people we think we're going to need in order to use that as an input into the actual OPORD. But now, through the process of generating the operations order, we should have actually a much better idea of exactly how many people of which type. And so one of these will feed into the resource requirements, and the other one actually feeds into how many people should actually get dispatched. So it's important that both are as accurate as possible, but it's more important that this one is accurate. So that'll tell the mobilization people exactly how many people we want to actually have on the ground. The operations contact section is similar to all the other contact sections, just people that are outside of TR that we want to make sure that we document that we're working with. And the approval block is essentially the same as the rest of them as well. One thing that you'll want to be wary of is for these fields that might have a lot of different entries, something like a bullet pointed list is typically not going to turn out correctly whenever you go to look at it in the template. And so in this example, I've got just a simple line break between each one. In fact, if we hover over it, you can see what it would look like. That tends to translate pretty well over to the actual document template. We'll take a look at what that looks like. In the final document that gets uploaded to the SharePoint list, there you might want to address it and put in specific bullet points, but you can see what this would look like if you just have a single line in between each one, like this. And there's, I think, a couple examples. This is what it would look like if you are going from a different template, like for example, if people decide they want to do the bulk of the work collaborating inside of SharePoint first and then bring it over. If you have bullet pointed lists inside of SharePoint, they may not come over correctly into the document template, so there's a little bit of cleanup on the back end there. Same with, looks like this as well. So that's it for OPORDs. Thanks for hanging with us so far in this video series, and keep on trucking to the next one.